China built a city bigger than New York, and it only took 30 years. In 1980, Shenzhen was a fishing village with a population of 30,000 people. Today, it's home to over 17 million. That's more people than New York City and Los Angeles combined. You heard that right. But this isn't just a story about speed or scale. Shenzhen isn't just big, it's smart, it's autonomous, and it's running on technology that most cities won't see for another 2 decades. What you're about to see is what the future of every city on Earth looks like. Now, to understand how this all happened, you have to go back to where it started. From village to megacity. You've seen fast-growing cities before, but nothing in human history compares to what happened in Shenzhen. In 1980, the Chinese government drew a line around a small fishing village on the southern coast and declared it a special economic zone. What that meant was simple different rules applied here. Lower taxes, open markets, foreign investment are welcome. It was an experiment. Nobody knew if it would work, but then the people came, millions of them. Factory workers, engineers, entrepreneurs, all chasing the same thing, opportunity. Within a decade, the population had exploded from 30,000 to over 2 million. Construction crews worked around the clock. Roads were laid before buildings were finished. Buildings went up before roads were planned. The city was being invented in real time. Here's where it gets staggering. In the time it takes most cities to build a single subway line, Shenzhen built an entire metropolis. By 2000, the city covered over 75 square miles of developed urban land. By 2020, that number had grown to nearly 400 square miles. To put that in perspective, the entire city of New York covers just over 300 square miles. Shenzhen didn't just catch up, it surpassed one of the most iconic cities ever built, in a third of the time. And it wasn't just size. The GDP of Shenzhen today sits at over $500 billion annually, comparable to entire countries. A city that produced almost nothing in 1980 was now producing more economic output than many G20 nations. The fishing village had become a financial powerhouse. But the scale of Shenzhen's growth was only the beginning of something far more ambitious. Because the people who built this city weren't content with just making it big. They wanted to make it smart. The city redesigned itself. Building fast is one thing, building smart is another. And somewhere along the way, Shenzhen decided it wasn't going to be a conventional city. It was going to be a test bed for ideas that hadn't been tried anywhere else on Earth. The city started embedding sensors into its infrastructure before most governments had even drafted smart city policies. Traffic lights weren't just lights anymore. They were data collection points, feeding real-time information into a centralized urban management platform. Roads knew how congested they were. Bridges reported their own structural stress. The city was beginning to think. Then came the cameras. Shenzhen today operates over 1 million surveillance cameras across the metropolitan area, roughly 1 camera for every 17 residents. That density is almost impossible to visualize until you're standing on a street corner and count 3 cameras within arm's reach. Every face, every license plate, every movement logged, processed, and cross-referenced in real time by AI systems running continuously across the city's data infrastructure. But here's what most people don't realize. The surveillance was never the point. It was a layer inside something much larger. Shenzhen's smart city platform, known internally as City Brain, integrates traffic flow, public safety, energy consumption, emergency response, and environmental monitoring into a single unified dashboard. City managers can see the entire city at once. They can redirect buses, reroute ambulances, adjust street lighting, and respond to incidents before a human dispatcher would have even received the call. The payoff of building this system wasn't just efficiency, it was speed. Shenzhen's average emergency response time dropped dramatically after the platform went live. Traffic congestion in key commercial corridors fell by over 30%. The city wasn't just running, it was optimizing itself. But the real test of any smart city system isn't how it performs on a normal day. It's what happens when things go wrong. And that's where Shenzhen's infrastructure revealed something that genuinely shocked urban planners around the world. Drones own the sky. Most cities talk about drone delivery. Shenzhen actually did it. While regulators in Europe and North America were still debating whether drones could legally fly over populated areas, Shenzhen had already carved the sky into delivery corridors and put them to work. The infrastructure behind this isn't simple. Shenzhen operates dedicated low-altitude airspace lanes, essentially highways in the sky, that run above residential and commercial districts at altitudes between 160 and 300 feet. These corridors are managed by a digital air traffic control system that monitors drone positions in real time, adjusts flight paths automatically, and prevents collisions without human intervention. It is, by any measure, the most advanced urban drone network operating at scale anywhere on Earth. DJI, headquartered in Shenzhen, supplies a significant portion of the hardware, but the ecosystem goes far beyond one company. Logistics firms like SF Express and Meituan operate fleets of hundreds of delivery drones out of Shenzhen, making hundreds of thousands of deliveries per month across dense urban neighborhoods. A package dropped into the system at a fulfillment center can reach a residential rooftop landing pad in under 15 minutes. Here's the tension most people don't consider. Shenzhen's residential density, some neighborhoods exceed 130,000 people per square mile, should make drone delivery nearly impossible. The margin for error is almost non-existent. A failed delivery isn't just a missed package. It's a safety incident over one of the most densely populated urban environments on the planet. And yet, the system works. Because every drone in Shenzhen's network is operating inside a framework of redundancy, backup navigation, automatic return protocols, real-time weather integration, and AI-managed collision avoidance. The city didn't just permit drone delivery. It engineered the conditions that make it survivable at scale. What's being built in the skies above Shenzhen today will become the standard for urban logistics globally within the next 10 years. But the sky was only one layer of Shenzhen's invisible infrastructure. Life without friction. Imagine waking up in Shenzhen. You leave your apartment, tap your phone at the building exit, and your commute fare is already deducted. You stop for breakfast, pay with a glance at a screen. Your health insurance is automatically updated when you pick up a prescription. Your subway route adjusts in real time because the city already knows there's a delay on your usual line. You didn't ask for any of this, it just happened. This is daily life for over 17 million people in Shenzhen, and it runs on an integration layer that most of the world hasn't come close to building. WeChat Pay and Alipay process billions of transactions per day. Digital ID systems have replaced physical documents for most government interactions. Public transit, healthcare records, business licensing, tax filing, all accessible from a single mobile interface. The city has essentially eliminated the friction between citizens and services. But here's what makes Shenzhen different from every other city experimenting with smart services. The integration isn't just convenient, it's total. Every interaction a resident has with the city generates data. That data feeds back into the urban management platform, which uses it to predict demand, pre-position resources, and adjust services before problems arise. The city isn't reacting to its residents. It's anticipating them. The tension in this system is obvious. A city that knows everything about you is a city with enormous power over you. Shenzhen's frictionless infrastructure operates within a surveillance framework that has no real equivalent in the democratic world. The trade-off convenience for transparency is one that residents largely accept, and one that governments everywhere are watching very carefully, because the payoff is undeniable. Shenzhen delivers public services faster, cheaper, and more accurately than almost any city on Earth. It has essentially solved urban bureaucracy, and that solution, for better or worse, is now being exported to cities across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. But underneath all of this digital infrastructure, there is something physical holding the city together, and it reaches higher into the sky than almost anything else humans have ever built. Engineering the skyline. You can see the Ping Finance Center from 30 miles away on a clear day. Standing at 1,665 feet tall, it is the fourth tallest building on Earth, and it was built not in Manhattan or Dubai, but in a city that didn't exist 40 years ago. That fact alone should stop you cold. The engineering behind Ping An goes far beyond height. The tower sits in one of the world's most active typhoon corridors. Every year, storms capable of generating wind speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour sweep across southern China. Building a super tall structure in this environment isn't just an architectural challenge, it's a structural physics problem. The design team solved it with a mega-frame core structure and 8 massive steel-reinforced concrete outrigger systems that transfer wind load from the facade down into the foundation. The building doesn't resist the wind, it moves with it by design, flexing up to several feet at the top during extreme weather events. Then there's the China Resources Headquarters, known locally as the Spring Tower. Rising to 1,115 feet, it brings a different engineering philosophy, a tapering cylindrical form designed to shed wind rather than absorb it. With a double-skin facade that reduces energy consumption by over 30% compared to conventional glass towers of similar scale. What's remarkable isn't just that these buildings exist, it's that they were both designed, approved, financed, and completed within timeframes that would be considered impossible in most other cities. Ping An took just over 6 years from groundbreaking to completion. In New York, a tower of comparable complexity took nearly 2 decades of planning before a single foundation was poured. Shenzhen's skyline isn't the result of wealth alone. It's the result of a city that removed the friction from building, the same way it removed friction from everything else. Fast approvals, integrated engineering teams, and a construction workforce that operates at a scale and pace no other country on Earth can currently match. But the skyline isn't just offices and towers. Shenzhen also built something far more ambitious for its public spaces, sports venues, as city statements. Most cities build stadiums to host events. Shenzhen built them to make a statement about what a city could be. The Shenzhen Bay Sports Center, known as the Spring Cocoon, is one of the most structurally ambitious public venues ever constructed. Its exterior shell is formed by a lattice of steel ribs that wrap around the entire complex like a woven skin, covering over 1 million square feet of sports, retail, and public space under a single continuous canopy. There is nothing else like it on Earth. The engineering challenge wasn't just aesthetic. The Spring Cocoon's lattice structure had to simultaneously function as a load-bearing frame, a weather barrier, and a ventilation system for a subtropical climate where summer temperatures regularly exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The solution was a double-layered mesh skin with passive airflow channels built into the geometry itself. No mechanical cooling required to maintain comfortable conditions in open public areas. The building breathes. Then there's the Shenzhen Universiade Sports Center, built for the 2011 Summer Universiade. The complex spans over 240 acres and includes a main stadium, aquatic center, and multiple competition venues connected by a unified infrastructure spine. What makes it remarkable isn't the scale, it's the integration. Every venue shares centralized energy management, shared logistics corridors, and a unified digital operations platform that can switch the entire complex from competition mode to public recreation mode within hours. But here's the tension that most people overlook. Building this kind of infrastructure at this speed carries enormous risk. The Universiade complex went from groundbreaking to competition-ready in under 3 years. That timeline would be considered reckless by international construction standards. And yet the venues passed every international safety certification and have operated without structural incident for over a decade. The payoff is a city that didn't just host a global sporting event, it used that event to permanently upgrade its public infrastructure. The venues didn't go dark after the games. They became anchor points for entire new residential and commercial districts that grew up around them. And the same philosophy that built these public spaces was being applied, at an even larger scale, by the private companies reshaping the city from the inside. The tech campuses within Tencent doesn't just have an office in Shenzhen. It has a city inside the city. The Tencent Seafront Towers, designed by NBBJ architects, are 2 interlocking super-tall structures connected by sky bridges at multiple levels, housing over 12,000 employees, in a complex that includes restaurants, medical facilities, gyms, libraries, and green spaces, spanning several city blocks. You don't go to work at Tencent. You live inside an ecosystem designed to keep you creative and productive around the clock. Huawei went even further. Its research and development campus in Dongguan, just 20 miles from Shenzhen city center and operationally integrated into its tech ecosystem, is designed to look like a collection of European towns. Cobblestone streets, Gothic architecture, a miniature railway connecting 12 distinct neighborhood zones. It houses over 25,000 employees and sits on over 300 acres. The message Huawei was sending wasn't subtle. We can build anything, anywhere, on our own terms. ZTE's headquarters complex in Shenzhen's Nanshan district follows a different philosophy, a cluster of interconnected research towers built around a central innovation plaza, designed to force collaboration between engineering teams that would otherwise never interact. The physical layout is itself a management strategy. Here's what ties all of these campuses together. They aren't just workplaces. They are deliberate attempts to manufacture innovation through environmental design. The companies building them understood something that most corporations are only beginning to grasp, that the physical space you put people in shapes what they're capable of producing. Shenzhen's tech giants design their campuses the same way they design their products, with intention, with obsession, and with a complete willingness to throw out convention. The payoff is visible in the output. The companies operating out of these campuses collectively hold more active technology patents than most sovereign nations. They're not catching up to Silicon Valley. In several critical areas, they have already passed it. But two companies stand apart from the rest, not just for what they've built in Shenzhen, but for what they've unleashed on the entire world. DJI and the drone age. You have almost certainly seen footage captured by a DJI drone. The sweeping aerial shots over mountain ranges, coastlines, city skylines, the camera work that used to require a helicopter and a film crew is now done by a device that fits in a backpack. Made by a company founded in a Shenzhen dormitory in 2006, DJI now controls over 70% of the global consumer and commercial drone market. You heard that right. One company, from one city, owns more than 2/3 of an entire global industry. The Sky City headquarters DJI opened in Shenzhen reflects the scale of that dominance. Designed by Foster & Partners, the complex consists of two massive structures, each over 600 feet long, elevated above a public park on giant cores, giving the impression of two buildings floating above the ground. The design isn't decoration. The elevated form frees up the ground level entirely for public space, while housing DJI's research labs, testing facilities, and global operations above. It is a building that thinks the same way DJI thinks about drones. Remove the obstacle, reclaim the space. But here's the tension that DJI now lives inside. Its global dominance has made it a geopolitical target. The United States government has placed DJI on restricted trade lists, citing national security concerns over data collection. Several government agencies have banned DJI hardware entirely. The company that built the drone age is now fighting for its right to operate in the world's largest markets, and yet DJI keeps growing. Because the gap between DJI's technology and its nearest competitors remains wide enough that even buyers who have concerns about data privacy continue purchasing DJI products. The performance advantage is simply too large to ignore. The payoff for Shenzhen is a company that didn't just dominate a market, it created one. Before DJI, commercial drone use was niche, expensive, and technically inaccessible. After DJI, it became global infrastructure. And that same pattern, build the product, then build the entire industry around it, is exactly what BYD did with electric vehicles. BYD's electric megafactory. In 2023, BYD overtook Tesla to become the world's largest electric vehicle manufacturer by units sold. That sentence deserves a moment. A company founded in Shenzhen in 1995, originally making rechargeable batteries for mobile phones, is now building more electric vehicles than any other company on the planet. You heard that right. The scale of BYD's manufacturing operation is genuinely difficult to process. Its main production campus in Shenzhen spans over 3 square miles, a single facility. Inside, the company manufactures not just vehicles, but the battery cells that power them, the semiconductor chips that control them, and the software systems that run them. BYD is one of the only automotive manufacturers on Earth that produces every major component of an electric vehicle entirely in-house. The supply chain doesn't leave the campus. Here's where the tension lives. Western automakers spent decades building global supply chains optimized for cost efficiency. BYD spent decades building vertical integration optimized for speed and control. When global chip shortages paralyzed the automotive industry in 2021 and 2022, BYD barely slowed down. Because it made its own chips. While Ford and General Motors were shutting down assembly lines and losing billions, BYD was accelerating production and posting record sales. The engineering coming out of BYD's Shenzhen facilities is not incremental. It's blade battery technology, a lithium iron phosphate cell architecture that eliminates the structural battery pack entirely and integrates cells directly into the vehicle chassis, has been independently tested to pass nail penetration and crush tests without thermal runaway. That is an engineering problem the entire industry had been trying to solve for 20 years. BYD solved it in Shenzhen. The payoff extends beyond China's borders. BYD is now operating or constructing vehicle manufacturing plants in Brazil, Hungary, Thailand, and Turkey. The company that started making phone batteries in a city that didn't exist 40 years ago is now building the transportation infrastructure of the 21st century on 6 continents. And when you step back and look at everything Shenzhen has produced, the city itself, the infrastructure, the companies, the technology, one conclusion becomes impossible to avoid. The world's urban blueprint. Here is what Shenzhen actually is. It is not a Chinese success story. It is not a monument to authoritarian efficiency or a cautionary tale about surveillance cameras and data collection. It is something far more significant than either of those narratives. It is a proof of concept. The most fully realized demonstration in human history of what a city becomes when technology, infrastructure, and governance are engineered to work together from the ground up, with zero legacy systems to work around and zero tolerance for slow. Every single layer of this city is integrated with every other layer. The drones flying package routes above residential towers are managed by the same digital platform controlling the traffic signals 60 feet below them. The mobile payment made at a street noodle stall feeds into the same data infrastructure that pre-positions ambulances and adjusts subway car frequency during rush hour. The supertall towers are engineered to flex in typhoon winds rather than fight them. The sports venues cool themselves through geometry. The tech campuses are physically laid out to manufacture. Collaboration. The same way a circuit board is laid out to manage current. Nothing here happened by accident. But here is the tension that every city watching Shenzhen cannot escape. The speed, the precision, the seamless integration of daily life, none of it arrived free. It came bundled with one of the most expansive urban surveillance architectures ever built, operating inside a political framework where 17 million people's daily behavioral data has no independent legal protection and no meaningful right of refusal. The system works. The question every other government is quietly wrestling with is exactly how much of the blueprint they're willing to copy, and they are already copying it. Urban planners in Singapore, Riyadh, Nairobi, and Jakarta aren't theorizing about Shenzhen's model anymore, they are implementing pieces of it. The drone corridors, the city brain-style platforms, the vertically integrated public services, the cashless payment infrastructure. These are operational systems with over a decade of real-world performance data behind them. The export is happening right now, city by city, contract by contract. 30 years ago, 30,000 people lived in a fishing village on the southern coast of China. Today, 17 million people live inside the most technologically integrated urban system ever built, and the companies it produced are rewiring the infrastructure of the entire planet. Shenzhen didn't predict the future of cities. It built it first.